Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Turn my light on. Shit. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Hurricane Watchman is here with your latest updates on the tropics. We have a lot we need to talk about. First, I want to talk about and get started with the closest system to the United States mainland, which is this disturbance right here, south of New Orleans, Louisiana, as you can see right there. Currently, it is not classified as an invest because it does not have a closed center of circulation. It is very, very weak. However, it is, as you can see, over the past hour, several hours, as you can see, the convection has really exploded over the northern Gulf, where those temperatures are extremely hot. There is very little wind shear and very little dry air to disrupt it and to weaken the system in any way. Right now, as you can see, very heavy rain. This is going to continue to move in this general direction. And in this area, in the yellow hatched area, south of Texas there, it is going to where the National Hurricane Center thinks where this has the best and biggest possibility of developing. I think that it's going to close off a low, it's going to come in and invest, and has the possibility before making landfall being a tropical depression or possibly a low-end 40-mile-an-hour tropical storm. Really reminds me a little bit of Hurricane Humberto in 2007. Something very similar happened. A cold front moved right on through, and then right on that tail end, it developed roughly right here, and just shifted right over Houston there in 2007. Same with Hurricane Alicia in 1983. Cold front moved through, an area of low pressure developed. Over those warm sea surface temperatures developed quite rapidly. Actually, developed right here. Moved westward and then moved north near Victoria, I believe, is where it made landfall with winds of 115 miles an hour. Now, we're not going to see anything like this with this system. It simply just doesn't have time. It has a couple days, 2 to 3 days, maybe 4 days at the most, before it makes landfall here in South Texas. A similar area to where Hurricane Hannah made landfall in 2020. So I do think this system right here could become a tropical depression, possibly a tropical storm. Now, regardless of tropical development, the biggest threats are going to remain the same. Strong, heavy downpours and flooding is going to be the biggest threat. Good news is this part of Texas is in a drought right now, and they desperately need the rain. All of South Texas, really all of the South, we've been under this huge heat dome where temperatures have reached 100 degrees in Houston, 107 degrees there, I think, in San Angelo. 103 degrees, I think it reached yesterday here in northwest Harris County area. It reached 103.5 degrees. So these temperatures have been extremely hot. We've gotten little to no rain, and we just really desperately just need this rain. So that's the good news, is this is going to bring a lot of rain to the southern part of the southern part of Texas. So that's what we have with that system. Lots of heavy rain, but right now, what we're looking at, not a lot. If I can actually zoom out, Control F. I do want to take a look at the radar so we have an idea. Rain-wise, what are we looking at with this system? So, radar, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we could see with flooding with this system, if any. Once it gets loaded, if it does load, so as you can clearly see, a majority of the heaviest rain remains offshore. Right now, majority of the heaviest rain is offshore. We have a pocket of showers here in the New Orleans area, west of New Orleans. This is where the center of circulation is at. Let's actually see if there's a... What in the heck happened to my radar sites? Have different live scan here. I'll just zoom in a little bit closer. So you can see there is a little bit of thunderstorm activity near this, where they think the center of circulation is at. Heavier rain really just on the southern portions of Louisiana, southeast Louisiana, is getting some more of those heavier showers, but a majority across the entire state of southern Louisiana and all of Louisiana, just not a lot of rain at all. That's the good news with this. The bad news is this is going to develop as it moves west. Again, a couple of showers in this area. As this moves west, southwest really, this is going to develop a lot quickly develop, generally quickly, not super duper fast, but from where it is right now to where it could be upon landfall is going to be a pretty general, gradual, decent rate of development. As it makes landfall, there will be the onshore flow in the Galveston area. I'm going to zoom in into this part of Texas and Louisiana. Lake Jackson right here, Galveston, Bolivar Peninsula, Port Arthur area. You're going to have this onshore flow pushing rain over the entire area of the upper Texas coast. And there's going to be rip currents. They're also going to be a big deal. You're going to have choppy waves. You're going to have rough seas. But you're not going to really have any storm surge. Very, very little, if any, impacts are going to come from storm surge at all. Yes, there will be heavy rain. At times there will be heavy rain. Possibly could be some flooding. The reason I say there could be some flooding is not because there's going to be a huge amount of rain falling. Now, yes, they are saying 4 to 8 inches of rain across this part of the upper Texas coast and west Louisiana. Could see 4 to 8 inches of rain. I think more of that would be more like 4 to 6 inches of rain. Is because there has been a lot of rain in this area, and so the ground is really, really hard, and it's hard for water to soak in. When you don't have a lot of rain for a long time, and then you pour a lot of rain at once, the water doesn't have anywhere to go because it hasn't soaked anything through in such a long time. And so I think that if anything, it's going to take some time for this water to soak through. It's going to be very hard, and it's going to take some time to soften the ground up. However, I do think eventually it will soak it up, but for right now, I do think there's going to be a lot of the water just going to be kind of standing there, and there's not going to be a lot of, the water's not really going to just go into the ground very easily. Alright, that's what we got with that system. We are watching for aircraft reconnaissance, which is currently not showing up at the moment on WSV-30. That's obviously a problem. So I'm going to turn radar off, and I'm going to actually go back to satellite. As you can see here, this is what we are looking at here with the satellite imagery. Very, very well, high definition satellite here. Again, deep thunderstorm activity, lots of convection with this system. As you can see, near the center of circulation, there is a lot of thunderstorm activity. There's not a lot of huge, towering thunderstorms, but there is a decent amount. It is gradually developing. I do think that there is a little bit more rotation. I think it's trying to close off a low-level circulation. But with what we have right now, it's not closed off enough. It's not tight enough. It's still very, very broad. See that? You can just see from the satellite imagery, it's wider than it is height. Meaning there is more broad rotation going more of like this instead of more, it's not very concentrated around its center. It is more broad. And when we have that, there's just really not, it's not very well developed right now. It's just an area of broad convection thunderstorms. And that's what we have right now. I think in the future, as the storm continues to progress farther off to the west, it's going to develop a little bit more. As you can see, 35-mile-an-hour winds gusting up to about 45, 46 miles per hour, at an air pressure of 1,009 millibars. So we are seeing gusting up to tropical storm force. And that is, this is also going to bring some gusty winds to Barbados, to the southern islands here in the next several days. Again, we are mainly looking at really this area right here. That could bring in some tropical storm force winds. Tropical force wind gusts are also possible. I certainly think that heavy rain and flooding is going to be a big problem. Huge problem, because again, we got very mountainous islands there. Lots of flooding as possible with this, because you know, you get I do want to take a look and go to tropical tidbits and take a look and see what we have here with the aircraft reconnaissance latest, because they are investigating the system. So again, we are watching Invest 94L, 30 knots, about 35 miles per hour. So let's see what aircraft reconnaissance is showing here. It does appear that we are finding 40 knot winds. Would you look at that? 30 knot winds. Holy crap. The heck are these people going? Are they going to the storm? I don't know. They are dropping drop zones. As you can see, they are going into the Invest. They have found winds, not just surfacely. Now, surface wind is in blue, pink is rain rate, and then the pink dots, as you can see, are the suspect sea surface. I don't know the SFMR exactly is, but with what we have here, they have found winds of 35 knots at the surface, 35 knot winds. 35 to 40 knot winds are at the surface, but if we take a look here, they're probably finding winds at flight level more like 40, 45 knots, and probably around, 45, 50 mile an hour. Let me, Smartens Weather General 3.0. Okay. That's what we actually have there, and I do think this is actually really starting to get developed. As you can see, they have not found a closed low right now, but what I want y'all to notice is they have found more stronger winds. Look at that, 40 knots, 45 miles per hour. Storm has really developed a lot more, but again, they're not finding a closed low, which basically just says they can't designate this as a tropical depression or a tropical storm. So if this does get upgraded, there's a possibility that it could actually become a PTC. And I think it would be PTC number 2, which is the potential tropical cyclone. It has a potential becoming a tropical cyclone, but it's not designated. So at that point, it is pretty much between a tropical, it is between a Invest and a tropical cyclone. It has the potential being a tropical cyclone, and at that point, the National Hurricane Center can issue watches or warnings for any land areas ahead of it. And in this case, it would be the Lesser Antilles and Leeward Islands. And again, that's what I think is going to happen here pretty soon. Because I mean, again, it's very, very elongated. Notice how the winds are coming into the storm. Notice how they're being pulled in. That kind of shows you the direction of the wind, which I don't have. I need to download a marker on here so I can actually draw on here and make things a little bit easier for y'all to see. But notice the clouds at the low levels are coming in, which is convergence. So the winds are starting to converge towards, which basically just shows that it's becoming more developed. We got more convection near the center. I do think it's trying to consolidate closer in the center, which basically just shows that it's consolidating and becoming more well developed. I do want to go to the National Hurricane Center and see if they got given an update. 8 a.m. still. 8 a.m. That's what we got right now as of 8 a.m. They are still investigating it. And I'm very, very curious to see what the National Hurricane Center says about this at their next update. At 4 p.m., that's a pretty good possibility. I think this could be designated as a PTC. Because right now, based on just what the aircraft reconnaissance is showing, it has the ability, it certainly has that. It has the criteria, in my opinion, for it to be a potential tropical cyclone. Because it is approaching land area. Again, look. It's right here. pretty soon it's starting to get closer here. Now it's still pretty far away. Still has to go a ways. Maybe by tonight or tomorrow it might be a PTC because it's still pretty far away from those areas of land. And I think that a PTC is certainly a good possibility. I just want to take a look and see what the air pressure they found. Yeah, it's already at 35 miles an hour, and the air traffic reconnaissance is finding 40 and 45 mile an hour winds at the surface. All right, so it might actually be upgraded to a PTC here pretty darn soon. That's what I think. So you can see air pressure is moving away from the center of circulation. So I do think that it might be down here. I don't know. It's really hard to see where the possible center of circulation is actually at, since it's just simply just so far. If we go to aircraft reconnaissance again, just want y'all to look at that. Then you, 1735, okay. And then if you come down here and you look at that green. That green is showing, 34, 10 is blue, 30, 34, 40. So I think we're finding 40 knots. 40 knots up to 45 mile an hour winds at the surface right now. That's what I think. 40 knots, about 45 miles per hour at the surface. And that pretty much shows we're seeing at least 40 mile an hour winds, maybe 45 mile per hour winds. It has a ways to go, but it's actually getting itself there pretty decently quickly. Not looking good at all for the Leeward Islands already. So that is really looking pretty incredible. Curious. Now I'm like, I feel like the National Hurricane Center is going to upgrade it to like 80% chance in the next 48 hours and like 90% chance. Oh, it's already at 90% chance in the next 5 days. Maybe 100% chance in the next 5 days. I don't know. It's almost 1 o'clock and I'm just curious what they say. Yep, all it has to do is, it's just too stretched out right now. I'm going to go back to satellite imagery and show y'all what I mean. It's too elongated, I think, and the center of circulation is just, oh gosh darn it, this is not working for me, is it? The center of circulation is just too elongated. Does not have a closed low, and it needs to close off that low, and then we can have a tropical depression or even a tropical storm. I mean, there's a decent amount of convection. It almost looks like there's a wind shear or something pushing the clouds south. That's something I'm noticing. See that? That's interesting right there. But yeah, you do have the clouds moving in, converging at the surface, and then at the top you have it's moving away from the circulation. Celia, oh yeah, Celia is terrible. It's just falling apart. Celia looks disgusting. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, it's much more rounder and more consolidated, obviously, because it's still a tropical storm compared to tropical disturbance 94L, I guess. But again, 30 knots, off 35 miles an hour. Some of the models, again, are not only just showing a tropical storm, but a strong tropical storm going to a hurricane. Some of the outliers are going into Cat 2 and into Cat 3, which is, I don't know if that's going to happen right now. So, 30 knots, 10.4 millibars. What's the air pressure? Pressure. Right. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a major hurricane. I mean, you never know. It could happen. It certainly could happen. But here's what we got right now. But it does look like there's some shear moving from the north to the south. Notice how we're getting the convection is being pulled away towards the south. It's just weird because I didn't think there was any wind shear right now. Curious. Now, I'm going to take a look and see what. Is that the latest? Is that the TPM update? Oh, it's still at 70%. That's actually kind of surprising. I thought they would have upgraded it to a higher chance. Tropical wave located about 700 miles east-southeast of the southern Windward Islands is producing a large area of showers and thunderstorms. Environmental conditions appear conducive for development, and a tropical depression or tropical storm is likely to form during the next day or so while the system reaches the Windward Islands Tuesday night or possibly while moving westward across the southern Caribbean Sea Wednesday through Friday. A NOAA Hurricane Hunter aircraft is currently investigating the system and has found tropical storm force winds. There we go, 40 to 45 mile an hour winds. Interest in the Windward Islands along the northeastern coast of Venezuela should monitor the progress of the system, and tropical storm watches or warnings could be required for portions of these areas later today. Thus meaning they might actually upgrade this to a potential tropical cyclone. Wouldn't be surprised me. Would not surprise me if they did that. Regardless of development, locally heavy rainfall is possible over the Windward Islands and the northern coast of Venezuela Tuesday night and Wednesday. Next 48 hours, 70%. And in the next 5 days, 90%. Oh wow, same. Next update, if it's not BTC, I'm going to be confused. Yeah, that will be in the next several hours here. So that's what we got. I mean, it's clipping along. So only a 20% chance. The northern Gulf of Mexico, disorganized showers and thunderstorms. It's still got a ways to go. It's making its way there. This still will develop over here. More of a direct impact to the Lesser Antilles and Leeward Islands. Curious to see how many people we have watching, to be honest. And again, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to go in the chat and comment any questions that you may have. We will answer them. Feel free to like the stream, subscribe to the channel if you wish. I do want to take a look at the Western Pacific because we do have quite a lot of stuff to talk about right now. Not only the Atlantic, but the West Pacific is also starting to wake up. As you can see, it's center circulation. We are watching that system. It could actually make landfall in South China. I want to say that's really close to Hong Kong. Could be wrong. A Bertha, that could be possible. I do remember that happened in 2000 and obviously 2020. I feel like a lot of people remember that because it happened so quickly. Aircraft reconnaissance, I want to continue doing a little update on this, not showing anything. Back to this. So again, here is the system here in the Caribbean as it is approaching the Leeward Islands. You can clearly see deep thunderstorm activity, more convection occurring near the center of circulation. They have found winds between 40 and 45 miles per hour. And so this is continuing to develop, and I think the next update, and that will be at 4 p.m. We'll have to do a special weather update just on the system alone and talking about it, more impacts, and continuing to monitor the development of this system here in the next several days. We'll be talking about this at the 4 p.m. update because I do think it will be designated as potential tropical cyclone number 2 because it would be the second named storm, second system to actually develop, and it would be PTC number 2. To be honest, yeah, I think it is pretty weak now. I think the minimum pressure is like 1,009 millibars or something. It's very, very broad. It's not very strong at all. But at the same time, 45 mile an hour winds, that's getting tropical storm force. So I'm like, sure, it's not like down to 1,003. But it's very, very broad again, and that's the main reason that it is so weak. I don't know why I won't tell me. I think it just formed later today. Oh, okay. So not a whole lot going on with that. The system, I don't know where the system's going, to be honest. Just en route somewhere. Maybe headed down to that other system. I don't know. But this is what we have with this system. You can see more convection. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to do. I wanted to see wind shear. There does appear to be a decent amount of wind shear in this region. It just looks like there's something cutting across the cloud tops. So there's, oh wait, no, there's a small amount of wind shear in this area. Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit of shear down there, and I think that is what we are seeing when we take a look at this. There is a little bit of shear pulling off to the north, but it looks like it's trying to consolidate a little bit. There's more bubbles. It's almost like looks like it's bubbling up a little bit, and that's what we're seeing. The shear isn't even. It's not that bad, but it does. I don't know. It looks like there is shear moving from the north to the south. You notice that? Let me just zoom out, and maybe you can see that a little bit better. It's just what it looks like. Maybe I'm seeing something else. Oh, and there's that other tropical wave I think behind it. But the biggest thing I'm noticing in favor of this system is we have this moving north, this moving inland, moving in towards the system. Gonzalo 2.0. Gonzalo 2.0 developed way farther to the east. I remember I was like, it ain't gonna become a hurricane. It didn't. It peaked at 70 miles an hour, and I don't even think it reached. I think it like pretty much fell apart as it was moving across the Caribbean islands. So I want y'all to notice how we are starting to see some of these clouds. Some of these clouds doing like this, and we have some of these clouds doing something like this. And now that we're starting to see some of that rotation starting to happen, that's sort of a sign that things are starting to go in favor of the storm. Why is this all off? There we go. So we're starting to see this, something like this a little bit, and something like this a little bit. Now I don't exactly know how strong this is happening, but I think that we certainly have a lot more rotation happening here. It's starting to develop. There's starting to be more turning happening. And I think once that happens, this elongation here is going to kind of shape itself out, and it's going to start to look a lot better as the entire system begins to rotate counterclockwise. That's something I am certainly excited to see if that does in fact happen, which would be very, very fascinating. This would be great. If this, if it really begins to rotate a little bit more, and we see some more rotation happening with it, then it might, we'll start to see more development of this system. Does anyone have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the development of Invest 94L? However, I do want to go over the biggest impacts once again. the biggest impacts with Invest 94L are going to be heavy rain as the storm moves over the Leeward Islands, flooding, mudslides, and landslides. This is not going to be a wind event. Now, as this makes its way into the Western Caribbean, there are some speculations this could become a hurricane. Now, that is very far out in advance. This doesn't even have an official forecast track. Alright? And so, right now, I'm not worried about what's going to happen in the Western Caribbean. That's too far out, and I don't want to hype anything up about what's going on out there. I want to worry about what it's going to happen in the next 48 hours or so. What's going to happen in the next several days is going to be approaching the Leeward Islands. The biggest threat is going to be heavy rain and flooding. Storm surge, not a huge issue, but choppy waves, rough seas, rip currents are going to be a threat. So if you plan on going out to the beach, I don't recommend it at all. There's going to be lots of rough seas. The rip currents are going to be strong. You get out there, you get caught in a rip current, and you don't know what to do properly. It's probably going to pull you away from. What I recommend to do is swim with the shoreline. Swim with the shoreline. Don't swim against the current. It's a losing battle. You're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to wear yourself out. It's going to be exhausting. Swim with the shoreline until you make your way to the shore. That is going to be your best bet. If you don't have the ability to do that, scream for help. Wave your hands in the air. Scream at the top of your lungs to get a lifeguard or another adult or somebody to get attention. Someone to see you, get someone's attention, and they will hopefully swim out there to rescue you and save your life. So that is that for rip currents if you do happen to be in this area. Oops. So that's what we got with this system. Does anybody have any other comments, questions, or concerns regarding Invest 94L? Okay, what in the hell is going on here? Oh, it's fake. The light? Why is that off? Oh, I see. This system here, I don't think it actually exists anymore. Celia, I think, is dead. If it doesn't have a closed low center of circulation, Aruba, especially. I don't know where Aruba is. You mean Barbuda? I think they mean Barbuda. I don't think Aruba is an island.
No, Aruba.
Aruba?
I think so.
Shit. Okay, I need to look that up right quick because I actually don't know where that's at. This is making me look really ignorant. Like Barbuda? Is that what you mean? Hold up, let me just look up Aruba. Aruba. Oh, it is an island. Oh, shit. It's in South America.
A lot of people go there on vacation.
Oh, shit. That's so embarrassing. I did not know Aruba was a thing. Okay. So Aruba's way over. I think this is the island of Aruba. Right here. So, you're dead smack dab in the middle of that cone of uncertainty, unfortunately. Okay, so, alright, it's right off the 30-mile kilometer. Yeah, I see that. It's right there. Hold up, right there. So, impacts would include, depending on how strong this is, I think by this point it might be a moderately to a strong tropical storm. Really, winds still, I don't think are going to be an issue. 50, 60, maybe 70 mile an hour winds. Probably 50, 60 mile an hour winds, depending on how fast this storm intensifies. I think this storm could certainly bring heavy rain, flooding, gusty winds. Some storm surge would be possible if this were to bring You get the northern eye wall, so that would be if it moves mainly to the south of y'all. Now if it moves to the north of y'all, you're gonna have winds moving offshore, moving like this. If y'all on the southern core of it, it's gonna be moving offshore, the southern core of what would be named Tropical Storm Bonnie. It would be the core of the winds would be moving away until you get offshore flow if you're on the east side of the island, or onshore flow if you're on the west side. Depending on which side you are on will depend on if you're going to get onshore flow. Now if you're the northern part of the island, let me just zoom in here. Really, if you're on the northern bit of the island, if you get winds, could be coming here, you could get storm surge here, but on the southern part of the eye wall, you would have winds blowing this direction. So you get onshore flow. You get onshore flow here and negative storm surge here. Negative storm surge is actually really dangerous because it blows water away from the island. And if you're caught in that, well, those rip currents are going to be pretty deadly. It's just going to pull you way out in the middle of the ocean. It's going to be catastrophic, I think. And if this island does, now we are going to closely monitor. I want to say it's going to be a little farther to the north. But right now, I want to say it's going to do something like that and then dip down south. Right now, I think biggest threats: heavy rain, flooding, gusty winds, storm surge is a possibility with this. At this point in time, this far out, storm surge is a possibility. Now, where it goes, right now, it's just exactly where it goes. Does it go exactly right over there? Simply just not an answer we have, unfortunately. Just simply because that's just really far out in time. We don't have an answer for that right now. That's just really far out. And what we can say for right now is that the storm is going to move in that general direction. So regardless of what happens, heavy rain and flooding is going to be the biggest threat. Those are the impacts to expect in the island of Aruba, if I'm pronouncing it right. Aruba. Thank you for that question. I appreciate it. That's going to be the same throughout all of Central America. Now, once we get to Central America, then it might actually become more of a wind event, because some are showing 992, 988 millibars, and that's when you're starting to get into hurricane territory. You may have an 80 to 90 mile an hour hurricane on the doorstep of Nicaragua and Honduras here by the end of that 7 days out from now. And that's something we're going to be watching very closely and monitoring very closely. Just this is something we got to watch carefully, because a lot of models are showing it's intensifying pretty quickly right before landfall, and that's something I want to stress very, very quickly. I want to stress, because as this storm moves westward, it could develop very rapidly prior to landfall. Same with Hurricane Michael. Hurricane Michael intensified very quickly before landfall. Now, this storm will be nothing like Hurricane Michael. This storm is not going to be not even a major hurricane. It might not even become a Category 1 hurricane. Not a problem. I'm glad to answer any questions that anybody else has. Alright, so this is another, again, serious. Gotta keep talking about this. What the hell? Hold up, what's going on here? Let me just do this and refresh this and pull this back up. Impacts of the United States. This isn't really going to be impacting the United States. The only system right now that's going to be impacting the United States is the one that is south of Louisiana. And it's going to be impacting Texas with heavy rain, possibly flooding. So I do not believe this storm will not be impacting the United States at all. I don't know why it's still showing test. is weird. WSP3 is just freaking out, but so that's what we have right now. Does anybody else have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding any tropical weather across the world? One thing I wanted to say before I do my closing thoughts is we do have a Patreon. Feel free to follow, go subscribe to it. Links will be in the description if you are curious about it. We will be releasing things on Patreon that you will not be able to get anywhere else regarding the Hurricane Watch thing. It's gonna be a lot more fun. We're gonna bring this thing together. Okay, that's not good. I'm not losing any frames, but if you want, join our Patreon. It starts at $1 a month. You can upgrade to a $5 or even upgrade to $10 a month. If you are interested, feel free to join it. But yeah, I think I'm going to close this off here pretty soon. You're just going to check any comments, questions, or concerns before I close it off. I actually want to go back and look at the aircraft reconnaissance and see what they are showing up here, and before I shut this stream down. And again, we will be doing another update on Invest 94L at 4 p.m. because that is when the Hurricane Watch team believes that this will be upgraded to potential tropical cyclone 2. If you're just joining us and you're not sure what that means, that just means that it's a system that has the potential to be a tropical cyclone, but it isn't classified as one. And at that point, it is organized enough to where the National Hurricane Center is going to issue warnings for land areas, populated land areas ahead of the storm. Just so people, because they're still going to get similar impacts to a tropical storm, even if it's not organized enough to be considered a tropical storm. Like this one is very elongated and stretched out. Let's see. Will it be a storm before it reaches the islands? I believe so. I do think that this will be a tropical storm prior to reaching the islands. Tonight, here in the next, 2 hours and 45 minutes roughly, I think this is going to be a potential tropical cyclone. And that just essentially just means it has the potential being a tropical cyclone, and it's going to be bringing the same impacts that a tropical storm will have. The aircraft reconnaissance found 40 to 45 mile an hour winds at the surface. So they're already seeing tropical storm force winds. Gusts probably up to 50 miles per hour. Storm surge is not going to be a big threat. Gusty winds, heavy rain, flooding, mudslides, landslides. Mountainous terrain is really going to amplify the mudslides and the threat with this system, unfortunately. So, come back here. Take a look at what aircraft reconnaissance is showing with this system. Well, they haven't found a closed low yet. Not a problem. Glad to help anyone who is in harm's way. Thank you all so much for joining the stream. We do have a Discord server. We do have a Patreon if you are interested. And I think pretty soon I'm going to end that stream off here so I can prepare for my next update on the system as it begins to approach the Lesser Antilles. It is not classified as PTC2 yet, but I do think pretty soon it will be classified as that. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like this stream, subscribe to the channel, and thank you all for watching. We will do another update at 4 p.m. Central Time as tropical disturbance Invest 94L begins to approach the Lesser Antilles. Thank you all so much for watching the stream. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, and I'll see you at 4 p.m. Central Time. Peace out.